It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Divas That Care. My name is Candace Gish. If this is your very first time tuning into us, a huge welcome. We've been doing this now for 15 years, and we're listened to in over 30 countries around the world. And honestly, it is because of our fantastic tribe, our amazing hosts, and our guests that come onto our program that we are continuing to do this. So we do appreciate all of you that have been with us for so long. Today, we are actually in the middle of a podcasting series, and it's called Boss Babe Summer, Leveling Up in Life and Career. Welcome to the podcast, Adriana.
Thank you, Candace. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, I am beyond excited to be talking with you today. Before we kind of dive into our podcast today, Adriana, would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners?
Sure. So my name, like you said, is Adriana Barnhardt. I go by Adri with my friends, so you're more than welcome to call me that. My business that I run, it's called Lovingly Adri, and it's all about astrological life coaching. And so I combine astrology with life coaching, combine it, and I help women or just anybody, go from tolerating themselves to intuitively loving themselves. And I created a program called ILYSM, which usually stands for I Love You So Much. But in my Lovingly Adri world, it stands for Intuitively Love Yourself Mentality.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Can I ask you, how did you get into this?
Oh my gosh, of course. So my whole life I loved astrology. It was a really nice way of, I guess, putting me in a box for myself, labeling myself, which I've learned since not to do, but it was really nice to be able to say like, oh, I can't make a decision. I'm a Libra, things like that. But long story short, I went to college for musical theater, did that my whole life. And then after I graduated, I recognized that I just wasn't happy in my life and I wanted to help more people and I just didn't know how to do that. And I randomly one day met somebody at the dog park and they told me about life coaching. And so I immediately signed up for a certification program, and all the while I was doing a bunch of research on astrology, trying to basically disprove it a little bit. And just through my research, it just kept getting more and more and more just scary to me of how accurate it was. And it just felt like a no-brainer to combine both of them once I started gaining clients and really listening to what my clients were saying to me. I thought, well, let me just look at your birth chart and let's see if that tells us anything. And that's how all of this has kind of come to be.
That is, wow. Like, I don't even know what to say to that. That is so cool.
It is so interesting because for me, the way that I look at astrology, it's a tool for self-awareness. And so the way that I compartmentalize the different planets, where, once that word gets put into the conversation, people are like, oh, that's very woo-woo. I checked out of the conversation. For me, the planets represent a bunch of different mental functions of the psyche. So when we're talking about your sun sign, we're talking about the development of identity and who you're growing into being, your ego. And then when we're talking about Mercury, we're talking about your intellect and your ability to communicate, your Venus, emotional regulation. So things like that. So it just made perfect sense that with my version of coaching, which is all about being in your body and really understanding your perceptions and how we could maybe reframe those, it makes perfect sense to go back to your birth chart, which to me represents kind of like your iPhone default factory settings, if that makes any sense.
It does, actually. So do you mostly just use astrology? Do you use any other modalities then with it?
So for me, it's mainly astrology. So I'm looking at your birth chart, I'm looking at a yearly progression, which is your year ahead, what kind of themes are going to come up for you, what kind of obstacles are going to get in your way thematically in your life. And so what I do, especially in my LESM program, is that we look at your birth chart. I then give you all of my notes that I basically took while I was researching your chart for our session. You get this 10 to 20 page study guide, which I call like your cheat sheet, your cheat code a little bit, where if you want to you learn more about your emotions or why are certain things coming up for you the way that they're coming up, you can just go back into your study guide, see what's going on and be like, oh, that's right. That's how it feels. And then from there, you get to do a personal Q&A that we get to sit down together for an hour and you get to tell me either revelations that you discovered, things that really set in for you, things you have more questions about, more clarity about. From there, we do a yearly progression reading. Again, we look at your year. And from there, you, the client, get to decide, well, what is it that I really want to work on? What are my goals? And then I have these, what I call now what sessions. So, when we all gain self-awareness, there's this moment where you're like, okay, like now what do I do with this information? That's what those sessions are all about. So we, look at your year as a whole, look at you as a whole human being. You decide what you want to work on. And then in those 3 sessions, we really just put our heads down and have these conversations that hopefully are, life-changing a little bit.
Oh, wow. I can definitely see that happening. So is this the ILYSM mindset shift method?
Yes, exactly. So I always say, and I even have it here on my little sweatshirt if you can see, I always say ILYSM to my friends when I say goodbye to anyone. I say ILYSM, it stands for I love you so much. And it's just a really cute, quick little way of, saying goodbye, love you, goodbye. And my mom, my whole life was like, never say I love you to anyone unless you mean it. So I always just like abbreviated it to make sense for me. And when I was sitting down and looking at my clients, looking at my business, looking at how I just am in life, anytime something is either going wrong or there's a little bit of chaos, when I do something that I deem good for me or that is moving me forward in the direction that I want to go, I always say to myself, I'm like, ugh, LESM queen. Like I just say it to myself. And one
I
day just
like that.
yeah. And I was like, LESM queen, good for you. Like I almost tripped and I caught myself, LESM, thank you, legs. And so from there, it just again was another little no-brainer where I was like, what if I just change the acronym a little bit and it's the intuitively love yourself mentality and like what if it's a mindset shift method instead of just like this is gonna make you become the best version of yourself. Like, yes, and I want you to intuitively love yourself, and the only person that knows how to do that is you.
Love that awareness that you're talking about, that people are starting to understand it. People used to think that somebody like you would be kooky. Like, what do you
Yeah.
mean astrology? That person is a little bit kooky. They don't know what, but I find, especially in the last, I don't know, 10 years or so, that there is more of an awakening and more of an awareness that people are really trying to understand the world better. I love the idea of that self-awareness, the unconditional love, the intentional living. I think maybe it's the generations that are coming up now, but I think in the past it was kind of like, oh, we don't talk about stuff like that. We put that in the back burner. People do it, they hide it, right? It was one of those things that they hide that knowledge or they don't want to share that. And it's amazing. And I just applaud you because I think more people are welcoming to that. They want to understand more because they know that there's more out there. And we're not just in a box. We have to learn to live outside the box because there's so much. The world is so extraordinary. And if we're willing to allow ourselves that freedom of expression, that freedom of allowing the powers what be to come into us, then there's so much we can do.
Yes, and the reason why I'm smiling so much is because you're using so many of the words that describe my personal birth chart. And so I'm like, yes, everything you're saying is exactly my purpose, I think, on this planet. Like these things that people want to hide, those are the exact things that I want to see and that the people that love you the most want to see. And if you can't, show those sides of yourself, then how do you expect yourself to love those sides, And going back to you saying people in the past or even today, people would be like, "Oh, that Adri, she's a little kooky," which is like exactly the verbiage. It's so funny because I'm like, well, back in the day, in early civilization, the people that were the most intelligent of the town, right, were these astrologers, were these
Exactly.
spiritual guides. And I was talking about this the other day with someone that there's this saying that's like millionaires have therapists, billionaires have astrologers, or something like that. And someone was asking me about this, and I was like, well, the thing is that back in these early civilizations, the people that had access to astrologers were like the royalty, the kings and queens, the aristocracy. And so minds like ours weren't given to the quote unquote normal people of the day. So, of course, people have grown or we've been conditioned to think that that's not for us. But for me, I want to make this as accessible to everyone as possible. This is your information to have. This is your birth chart. Unfortunately, not all of us learned how to read them, but that's what I can do. And so it's your information to have. And I'm basically just that vessel to give you that information.
I love how you just shared that because isn't that the truth? Is like the wealthy had the access to people like you, and now everybody does. It's this huge secret, but not secret.
It's a huge secret, but not secret. That's exactly the way to put it. And every time, the reason I really got into wanting to be an astrologer was because I was looking for an astrologer myself because mine had unfortunately unexpectedly passed away. And so I really wanted to find someone like her and that spoke like her. And so I was trying to find all these different people, and the charges, the cost, the packages, the price was just astronomical, for lack of a better term. And I just don't believe in gatekeeping this information from humans. This is your information to
Hmm.
have. These are 34 symbols that unfortunately not everyone, can really, I guess, fathom or like understand the full concept of it. And so my old astrologer, she used to say, astrology is a science, delineation is the art. And with my background in musical theater, of course, I'm a storyteller. There's a big part of that, but I have a lot of empathy and a big intuition. And so it's been really amazing to talk with clients and say certain things that all of a sudden I see their eyes, widen, a smile come over, kind of a crash of relief, this wave that comes over them of, oh my gosh, I've never been able to put it into words, and you just put it into words for me.
Oh my goodness. Well, this is great. We are talking today about Boss Babe Summer, and leveling up in life and career. So, how will this help our boss babes out there?
Well, here's the thing. I'm like, any sort of awareness that you gain, no matter where it is in your life, what area of life, that awareness is going to help you in every other realm. And so, with business specifically, and with women, we as a culture have conditioned women to maybe dream a little bit smaller when it comes to business, or taking away the femininity in business and that creativity. And so, what's amazing is that when I read someone's chart and I say, this is kind of the perception that you were born with. This is something that might inspire you, or for lack of a better term, light a fire under your ass. I don't know if I can say that here, but um, there's certain are going to be as inspiring to that person as it is. And so when you're listening to when we're having this conversation, because it's a conversation, I'm not here to just sit here and be like, this is what it says in your chart, which means that this is exactly what's going to happen. So you're only going to do this. No, it's a conversation. We talk about it. You get to ask questions and clarify. And like, there's, there's so much of us that we forget that we have the ability to tap into our drive or our will or our courage. And so for someone that a little bit more insecure, not knowing, not sure if they want to start something or not sure if they want to keep going. There are different areas of the chart that you can tap into and look at and just talk about. And there are some massive revelations that can happen. That I had to go through myself in my own life was, oh, well, I saw that my mom was an incredible stay-at-home mom. I'm going to be an incredible stay-at-home mom. That's all I want to be. And that to me, I mean, amazing. If you can be a stay-at-home mom, what a dream. I'm like, that's amazing. But all of a sudden, what I realized was my fear of being anything more. I was just covering that up with this other, I guess, like fantasy, if that makes any sense. So once I had my birth chart read professionally, and she was telling me, you're meant to run your own business, you're meant to go through things so that you can heal, so you can help others heal. I was like, I don't want to have to go through all this stuff so I can help others heal. I don't want to have to do this. And I was like, and I don't want to work for myself. And throughout the years, I'm like, wait a second. No, I am working for myself. That's exactly what I'm doing. I am healing. So there were things that even when I had my birth chart read for the first time that I wanted to reject just because of that fear. And now I'm like, I think my purpose is surpassing my fear.
That's fantastic. Can people access you from all over the world?
Yes, of course. You can head over to lovinglyadri.com no matter where you are and set up a reading with me or look into my Ilias mentality mindset shift method. And really, it's so interesting. My family's from El Salvador, so I'm a first generation American. So I do have, some clients that are born in different countries, which is the best because all of that is what shifts your chart really is location, time, and your birthday. And so being able to see how these different planetary functions manifest. I mean, we're all humans, and no matter where you're born, no matter where you're from, we all have the same planetary mental functions. And so if we take away all of the judgments, all of the conditioning that we've gone through, we're all people and it's very neutral and it's a really beautiful thing.
I love how you just described that. That's beautiful. Yes. Oh my gosh, Adriana, I have had so much fun. So you've given us your social media. Is there anything else, any other ways or ways that people can perhaps follow you that they can get more information and, not just from your website?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can follow me at Lovingly Adri on Instagram, on TikTok. I actually just launched my YouTube channel, which is also Lovingly Adri. And so on that channel, I'll be talking about real life astrology, unpacking different placements of the birth chart, asking people for what they want me to talk about, dealing with like Saturn returns, moon phases, all that kind of stuff. And I give a bunch of in these videos a lot of free little downloadable gifts. So if you want to unpack your big three, there's things open for you there. Or if you want to know how this Mercury retrograde, because we're in one right now, is affecting you, I'm about to release that video next week, and there'll be a little a gift attached to that that has to do with how the Mercury retrograde specifically affects you.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this podcast series. We are so honored that you've taken the time to chat with us today, and we would love to have you back on a future program.
I would love to be back. Thank you so much, Candace.
Oh my gosh, this was great. And a huge shout out to all of our listeners. Make sure that you check out Adriana. I'm going to be posting all of her social media so that you can go check her out. And also check out all the other hosts and the guests for the Boss Babe Summer, leveling up in life and career. Well, thank you so much, Adriana. And thank you to all of our guests. And I hope that you have a great day. And remember to do something kind. Until next time, everyone.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.